light, the seekers and sojourners of truth, the 144, chosen of the chosen few. You know who you are. I greet you in the love that lights the truth from my heart to yours. I am celestial earth in this divine energy essence of it all, and I am under the moon. Let's see if I can even catch a glare for you. Ooh, getting up to the full moon. We're getting ready for that full moon. Lunar eclipse, red blood moon, because there is some stuff that needs to be done in the blood. Speaking of which, I'm here to bring you the news to infuse if you so choose to infuse with that light. And if not, then you refuse, which means you're going to be fried and on the grid. So speaking of this blood, I'm talking about DNA activation. Excuse if you may hear some noise in the background. We got some work going on and I had to get this message regardless. So let me get into this DNA activation because we hear that word being thrown around and it's very ideal. As I even mentioned, the blood moon, speaking about the blood moon, we're talking about this DNA, which is what? The blood. So let me get into that because on the last video, I brought it up and I said I would get into it. So now let's get into it. Within the DNA activation, within this, let's just say within this soul ascension, we are having a DNA activation. And when our DNA activates, our soul ascends. When our soul ascends, our DNA activates. It works hand in hand. Why is that? Because the DNA is, let me break down the words first for those who don't know and look it up if you want to. Please do. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, if you haven't heard me say that before, which if you break down the etymology of that word, it's God, Lord, fire in the center of my being. That fire is the fire that goes through the wire. That's how we fire our wire. What is the wire? The conduit of energy and light that we are, right? So this God, Lord, fire in the center of our being just means this is our God encryption. This is the word, God, Lord. This is the word of God. Like they're telling you in your DNA, just by the mere definition, that it is the very word of God that is in your blood. And I don't mean word by the book. I mean the word that just is. You know how they say in the beginning was the word and the word was with God and so forth. That is the very essence of your being, right? That is how we are in the image and likeness, continuously, infinitely so. And it is the very book of life that we know and that we are. So to tap into your DNA is like opening your book of life. It is your transcript, so to speak, right? And I want us to really think about this because it has everything to do with where we're going into 5D. By the way, welcome to 5D, right? So this is about how we're pushing timelines, how we are quantum leaping. All of that has to do with how we are accessing our DNA, our deoxyribonucleic acid, right? So this is the word. The fire is actually what gives the ignite, so to speak, the ignition, right? And so this word, this script, is what we call our God encryption. It is our very codes that are within us, and we activate these codes when we activate our blood. Right? So this is why we have to be careful what we do with our blood and in our blood. And for those of us who are doing soul work, please know that you affect other people who share blood with you. And this is why our family gets upset, or this is why we get the kickback that we get with family, because it's essentially we're boiling the blood. Right? When you do your shadow work, it's as if you turn up the frequencies on your blood and you put your blood on the stove. For those of you who remember, think of it when I spoke about loosh. And I explained that loosh is like the very essence, the steam that we give off, right? And the loosh is like our emotions get put, our emotions would be like the water in the pot. You are the pot. The water in the pot is the emotions. When you turn on the fire, the water starts to what? Boil. So kind of think of it like that. Your emotions are in the pot. And when you turn up the frequencies, When you get tuned in and you turn up and attune to the higher frequencies, you're turning up the fire. So you're boiling that blood, so to speak. You're boiling that water. And so as you're working on yourself and boiling that water, your blood, which is a part of that water, that's like the plasma and so forth, right? Look up plasma, look up blood, break it down, right? And your body is made up of so much water. So the emotions, all of that starts turning up. The emotions are the energy in motion. So this is how the electricity goes through you, right? This is the electromagnetic aspect of us, right? We are electricity, and there is the magnetic aspect as well that gets magnified, right? Electrified to get magnified. And the electricity is the feminine energy. It is the energy in motion, which is the emotion, which is the feminine energy or the receptivity. It's how information flows through us. It's our electrical currency. And then it gets magnified with the masculine energy, which is the creative activity, right? That is the divine masculine. So that is the electromagnetic aspect of us, is the very masculine, feminine energy of us. It is the very positive, negative charge that runs through us, right? That's just to kind of bring that all into an understanding, into the scope of our understanding. So understand then how the blood flows through us, how we are flowing constantly with information, light energy information that are the codes, these light codes that flow through our blood, our soul codes that flow in our blood. And so the blood has our codes. The script, the transcript is in the blood, your God encryption, right? So with that said, I want us to understand now how it is that we are expanding, how we are activating our DNA. In other words, activating the blood. So when we do our work and we tap into these soul codes, we're activating our DNA. We're opening the very book within us. And so why I'm saying all of this, because within this DNA activation, I want us to understand there are three traumas that are coming up, right? I mentioned that in the previous video. There's childhood trauma. But let me say it, most importantly, what we're seeing is karma trauma, past life karma trauma, right? There's that. There's ancestral trauma, right? Because that's deep in our blood. This is root chakra, deep root chakra work, or earth chakra work. The earth star chakra, which is 6 feet beneath you, right? Right below your root, just outside of your body. That is the earth star chakra. So this deals with your, it's like the earth star chakra is like the portal, your earth portal of your every existence in this earth, the many lifetimes within this earth, as well as your bloodline within this earth, the bloodline that you've chosen to come through for a particular reason, to have a particular experience that adheres to your soul's course that your spirit has chosen, because you are chosen because you have chosen, right? So this blood that is streaming through, that is bringing all the information that needs to be activated, when we become intentional and purposeful on our mission, on our journey, and we start to push our dimensional timelines, and we start to quantum leap through our soul's journey. Like right now, a lot of us are transitioning without having to physically die in the body. This is 5D. Within the fifth dimension, we are shifting gears in a way that we've never done before in our human evolving lifetime expansion. This is expansion consciousness. So we're dying without having to physically die. Every time we have a ego death, or we transition, we move through our timelines, right? And that's the soul ascension, and it is definitely DNA activation. So in working on your DNA activation, I want us to understand that we're working through these three traumas right now, especially with all the energies that are happening right now in the house of Pisces, or the house of Newt, for those of you who have the 5D calendar. This is the most spiritual of all the houses. This is the final, the 12th and final house, the 12th and final month. It is closing out karmic cycles. It is closing out a lot of things that are coming to an end, and we're having that opportunity and that help from the celestial bodies with the planetary parade. There is a lot of guidance, a lot of cosmic guidance that is happening right now. So it's for us to take advantage of that, and this is a perfect opportunity and time in our time space reality in this lifetime to be working with our DNA. And so the ancestral trauma, for those of you like me, I'm really getting pulled heavily into the ancestral work, which is why I'm here in Jamaica and have been here for so long, longer than expected, because there is a working out that has to be done. Again, excuse the noise if you hear any behind me. They're working. So there is the ancestral trauma. Mean we really have to get into what has happened in our bloodline, in our, because that is part of the codes. A lot of our codes are in our ancestral traumas, what we have come here to transcend. So a lot of us who deem ourselves to be generational curse breakers, you're really ancestral trauma workers. You're in the trauma unit of your ancestral lineage. And so there are many levels of this. Some of us are being called back into certain family arenas. Some of us have gone through certain levels of our soul work and wondering, why am I back here again? Like myself. And it's because of the DNA activation. It's because the next level of work that must needs be done in order to have another level of evolution and again push your dimensional timelines. This is part of the grid work. This is part of stepping deeper into the fifth dimension and really utilizing the Aquarian age, which is the age of the knowing. This is the time to know. This is the time to grow. This is the time to show. Right? So this ancestral work is something that is very needed right now as a part of your DNA, because the ancestral is the blood work. And get it? We're having blood moon. So utilize this blood moon to open up those doors, open up what we need to step into our ancestral wounds, if you will. We have to stop avoiding and walking away from what is here to guide us. Ashe? So this ancestral work, with however it's showing up for you, don't feel like you're failing if it's something that you're going back into and you're like, hey, I did this already. It's because it's time for a next level of this. And this is what we'll be doing in the workshop as we're going through accessing our soul code. So if you can get into the workshop, I strongly advise that. I was going to say DM me, message me, email me if this is something that you are feeling a call towards, right? It doesn't just have to be ancestral. This is all for the DNA activation and soul ascension. And this is to help you ultimately tap into your subconscious mind, which the subconscious mind is like a black box in a plane. It's the recorder of your entire soul. This is how you access your Akashic records. This is how you access past life memories. It's all through your subconscious mind, which is the feminine energy aspect of your soul. It holds all memories. It has all, it's about feelings, emotions, intuition. All of that is the subconscious mind. So with this workshop, we tap into the subconscious mind and we access our soul codes. The more you tap in, you unlock and you open your soul codes. And this is what helps you to open that book of life within you, aka your DNA God encryption. So this is how you activate. It's not separate from soul work. So know that DNA activation and soul ascension is pretty much one and the same. So there's the ancestral trauma that I just spoke of. And then the other trauma is your karmic past life trauma. And this has to do with the many lifetimes that you have been here, which a lot of us have come in this particular lifetime to get rid of a thick layer of soot on the soul, which I call the soot on the soul the karmic traumas, the traumas that we haven't gotten rid of, right? You come lifetime after lifetime to unveil or remove or relieve a part of that trauma. But what happens is when we come here, we get lost in the sea of forgetfulness. How soon do we forget? As soon as we come back in, and we get hit with other um, fears in this lifetime, so we forget what we're here for. So, whatever you have picked up, whatever you have not dealt with in a past life, you come back and you have certain patterns encoded in you to deal with in this lifetime. And if you don't deal with it, not only do you carry what you have not dealt with, but whatever you have picked up in the current lifetime, you now have more karma, trauma on top of that. So a lot of us have picked up more and more. We may have gotten rid of a little bit. It's not like we don't get rid of anything. It all depends on the soul. For some, they may have completely lost it and they haven't gotten rid of anything and they've only picked up more trauma. For some, it may be that they've gotten rid of, and this is what it is with most people. We get rid of a little bit and then we pick up a chunk more of trauma because we're unaware of this karmic trauma, this past life trauma that goes on a continuum if we don't remove it. It's like when you don't pass a course, you can't go to the next level. So you come back again and you're at the same level, still attempting to evolve and remove that soot. And it's always been very, very hard. But in this lifetime, it's been really easy because we're so evolved. As humanity, we're way more evolved than we were 2,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago at that. Everything is accelerated. We're way more evolved than where we were 100 years ago. Hell, we're way more evolved than where we were in 2020 because 2020 was the Great Awakening, which was really 2012, according to the Mayan calendar and our 5D calendar. 2020 was really 2012. So it was the end of the world as we know it and the beginning of something new. Peace, love, and light, and welcome and prosperity to you as well. So there is so much that we have to transcend in order to ascend. So the karmic trauma is definitely what is important to a lot of people right now because they're not aware of their past life trauma because they're so busy in the loop of this lifetime and not realizing that the patterns that you have in this lifetime come from unhealed wounds and unsettled karmas from the previous life, right? And I don't mean karma just in a bad way. Karma just means it can be good and bad. It just means what is to be returned to you, right? What hasn't been taken care of. You know, there's good karma, bad karma, but either way, for the most part, it's us getting rid of our so-called bad karma, the things that are not healthy for our soul. We're here to get rid of that. And in this lifetime, as I said, it's very, very, what's the word? Not challenging. It's very advantageous, right? There's an advantage because of how far we've come as a people, how evolved we are, and how tuned in we are to the cosmos and really allowing the cosmos to guide us. Also, with us entering into the fifth dimension, entering into the age of the knowing, and coming in this through this light, and with the celestials lined up where they are. For example, with Neptune being in Pisces, which we're not going to see for another 200 and something years. So we're utilizing all of this opportunity at this particular time to unlock a lot of codes, to remove a lot of resistance out of our wires, right? And a lot of resistance that has been there for multiple lifetimes, hence karma trauma, the soot on our soul. So we're getting this opportunity right now to remove that thick layer of soot. That's the most important part. And the ancestral, working on your ancestral trauma helps you get to the karma trauma because you start to find repeating patterns within your ancestral lineage, which has everything to do with certain codes that you need in your book of life, in your blood bank, so to speak, your blood book, your blood bank, blood moon, right? And so the third trauma is childhood trauma. Now, that one is not running as deep as karma trauma and ancestral trauma, but it runs as deep as into your now life childhood. And that's important because what has happened in our childhood has skewed our vision That has a lot to do with a lot of our forgetfulness, because once whatever we deal with in childhood, we're so busy internalizing that we forget the codes that we came with. So when we work through our childhood trauma, it helps us to get closer to those codes. So if I was working on that, what I would say to you all is I would start with childhood trauma. If you're just now beginning any of this work and you want to get your DNA activation on, I would first start with childhood trauma. Look up any type of they have YouTube guidance, people who guide you through childhood trauma. One of the ones that I would say to look out for that I use in the workshops is Vicky Howie. If you look her up, she kind of guides you through the childhood trauma. And I've actually used that in the workshops. And yes, it has worked in unlocking many codes, right? And if you can take yourself through a childhood trauma and do so, that's good as well. But I would first start at childhood trauma. So now, because when you remove that childhood trauma, you're removing that thick layer of film out of the way, and then now you're clear to see the ancestral trauma and then the karmic life trauma, right? Whichever one comes first for you. Everybody works differently. But I know one of the things, if you can't see any of that, it's really important to get the childhood trauma out the way first, because remove all of that film and that debris. So those are the three traumas I would definitely give to work with to activate your DNA. Once you deal with those traumas, you start turning up the heat. The blood starts boiling. The loosh starts looshing. So also be mindful of what is steaming from your pot, so to speak. Because once you start this work, there's going to be some looshing going on in the atmosphere, right? So we have to be mindful and hold ourselves accountable, and be careful not to project or put out on others. Even if you discover something in your childhood with someone else, remember it is about you, not them. They are just the channels and the reflections that bring to you you. It is every bit about you. This is not the time to be a victim. This is not a time to point fingers and blame. Whatever you find, it's good that you find it. Hold yourself accountable and also hold them accountable. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go have a conversation with them, because this is all your soul unfolding journey. If you find that you can, good. But if not, you don't have to beat anybody's head in and try to make them understand anything. This is your soul unfolding journey. So this is how we're getting deeper. I say all that to say this. This is how you walk in deeper into the 5D, into the fifth dimension, because there are many levels of 5D. There are three main levels of what I've been seeing in each dimension, which has to do with ideal time, real time, and true time reality. And I'll get into that. I'll do another video speaking on that as well, because I don't want to take away from the DNA activation. This is very important right now, and how we're accessing our traumas, right? So know that there are these different levels, and this is how you move through these different levels into 5D, deeper and deeper into 5D, shifting your dimensional timelines and activating the light grid, infusing with the light on the light grid. The more you do this in truth, is the more you are infusing with the light, and you allow your vessel to remove the resistance so that you can receive more of the fifth density light, moving from a 3D processor, so to speak, into a fourth and fifth dimensional type processor, right? So, as I usually say, it's not about 5G, it's about 5D. This is the fifth dimension. So this is a very opportune time right now to utilize this workshop, utilize this full moon energy. I would suggest getting into some kind of workshop, even if it's not mine. Get into some, because I'm hearing others workshop. The pioneers, if you are a pioneer like myself, it's time to open the way. Make sure that you have something that is available for those who are stepping into 5D. If you are new to 5D, find those 5D pioneers and join whatever it is that they have available. Do not take this lightly. Do not let this full moon in the eclipse. Eclipse is like a full moon on steroids. Do not let this blood moon, this full blood moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, which our south node is in Virgo, so it is definitely shifting. It is a big shift that is helping us extract what we need to extract from the south node collectively, the collective south node, to help catapult us into the collective north node, which is in Pisces, the spiritual house. So all of this is helping us to unlock, expand, elevate, and go deeper into the spiritual house, to go deeper into the new with this beautiful moon. So let the moon guide us. These are the luminaries. The moon, the sun, the luminaries are guiding us with the interstellar, constellations, the stars, the interstellar view, the interstellar introspection that we're having within. So I say all that to really put it in our hearts, in our minds, that this is the time. Now is the time. This is not the time to be lazy or be a lax soul, but this is the time to step forward in our forward movement and undo the things that we need to remove, to deprogram, to depersonalize, to detach, right? Which reminds me, the program after this, the workshop after the Divine Chakra Moon workshop, which you'll see, I'm going to post it as well. So you may see the flyer for it. After this, 7 days with the full moon will be the Detox to Detach workshop. And then right after that, we'll have the solar plexus workshop, because I'm really being guided that we need to get into that solar plexus and remove a lot of shame, which is the block of the solar plexus, right? Which speaks to us understanding, overstanding, and understanding why we need humility in our ego. We need to humbleize our ego so that we can receive the messages that we need. Receptivity has been the recurring theme a lot lately. We've been getting a lot of six and signs of sixes, and six is that receptive completion. It's also known as balance and harmony, but when you're balanced and harmonized, that's when you're most receptive. So this is where we are gathering our information. This is a true galactic gathering. This is a true starseed gathering. It's time to step into our starseed self and step into that fifth dimension. So the thing to know about humility that we need within our ego is that we need to allow ourselves to be humiliated. A lot of times we can't find humility because our ego is scared of humiliation and annihilation. The humiliation is a threat of annihilation. And that shame, humiliation, is being ashamed and feeling shame. And that's the number one block of the solar plexus, which is our ego center, right? So we need to be able to have an ego death experience so that we can shame that misappropriated ego, so that we can rise in our wise ego. But to rise in our wise ego, we need to put that masculine energy within us down, that ego that always wants to protect, and protect us in our fears, protect us in our comforts and things that we want to stay the same. And nothing stays the same as we move forward in change. So this is what we have to grow through and put the ego down. And this is something that a lot of us have a hard time doing in our ancestral background, in our family, specifically, especially coming from the islands. Me, I'm having a hard time with that in being in Jamaica with Jamaica has a heavy deficit in this area of humility and lacking accountability because they're so ego driven. All the women are also inundated with this energy because of where we've come from with the patriarchal rules and all of that is now going down. So we have to step forward. We can't wait on the world to do it. We have to play a part in doing it ourselves, in stepping forward and removing the shame. We have to face the shame. Let me say it that way, because a lot of us will go in looking for shame and we don't find it because our ego does such a good job at hiding it and tucking it away and avoiding it and denying it. But we have to be willing to face the shame and say, yes, this is my shame. This is my humiliation. I'm afraid of this. We have to be able to say what we have fear based thoughts and feelings of. And this all has to do with how we are accessing our DNA codes and be willing to face it. And if we're too hard up in our ego, we're never going to get to it. So we have to be very strict, self disciplined, in telling that ego to sit down, have a seat, because I need to face this. I need to feel this and I need to face it, because who feels it knows it. As the great Bob said, who feels it knows it, Lord. So allow yourself to see and feel it so that you can know it with this type of knowing, a recognition, a re-knowing in our DNA, that when you re-know something, you're ready to reopen the book of life. You're ready to open your blood code, your blood bank, your God encryption, your spiritual blueprint, your soul code. Just let your soul glow. Open your soul codes and let your soul glow. And this is what we do in the workshop. So I'm inviting those of you who may have been with me for a while or who have been missing other workshops. I would say that this is not the time to miss this workshop. I go by donations. If you don't have it, don't be afraid to reach out and still email me, because I do what the divine guides me to do. Right? Reciprocity is great, and there are many ways of reciprocity. So don't let money hold you back either. Be ready and willing. All you have to do is look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I a willing and ready vessel? Do I see what's before me? Am I ready to have a DNA activation? Am I ready for my soul ascension? Am I ready to remove the resistance and the unhealed wounds out of my wire so that I can start firing? I need fire through my wire. Through the fire. I need that fire. I need that nucleic acid, deoxyribonucleic acid. That's the DNA. So we need to be firing up. And in order to do that, we got to remove all resistance. So with that, I do implore those of you who it's resonating with, if you feel this truth resonance, do take the time to sign up. We begin on the 11th. It's a 7-day workshop. We'll be working with all energy centers from the root going to the crown, transmuting. We do a pyramid transmutation, transmuting the fear into love. All fear-based thoughts and feelings into the love frequency. And ultimately tapping into our subconscious and accessing our soul codes to let our soul glow, right? And move into the next level. We want, when we get out of, as I was explaining, when we pass the house of Newt and Neptune and Saturn passes by, and believe me, this is really quick. We literally have minutes to work through what we have come here to work through. Some of us have come here for this particular reason at this time. So let's not waste this time and be out of time. As I said before, as vessels of time, we are within time in our time-space reality, and we will lose that time and be out of that time that the energy has provided us within that time, within said time. So when those two shift out, which is in like a few months, this is a very pivotal year. So within a few months, probably about 2 months. 2 months is like 2 minutes in the frequent flyer miles that we got going on with these accelerated frequencies. 2 months is like 2 minutes in spiritual time, in God speed, or I should say in light speed. So let's take this very serious. As I was telling someone earlier, please take it seriously It is your chance. It is my chance. It is our chance. I don't know about you, but I'm doing what I can do in this transcend dance. To transcend is a transcending dance with the cosmos. So let's get cosmically inclined in our soul's divine in this entire cosmic design. Ashe? Ashe. So, with that said, again, if this is for you, whether it's this workshop or the Detox to Detach or the Solar Plexus 3-day workshop, go ahead, DM. Not, I keep saying DM like I'm on a different platform. Go ahead and email me at divineenergystudio@gmail.com, and I will look out for those who are reaching out and return your spiritual shout. Holla! So thank you for those who have come through. Share this if you know somebody needs to hear it, if it's truth resonance for you. And if you're committing to your soul work, I'm just sharing the light, the love that lights the truth within. So let's get in and begin and have a win-win. Ashe. So with that said, each one, reach one, teach one. If you don't know where to start, start in your big, beautiful heart. Shine your light from the inside out and be the candle that lights the next one and the next one and the next one. Peace, love, and light.